She says, I want to talk about aging. I have a huge preference for the energy of youth. And I feel ashamed to tell you this, but I really want to get it out of my system so that I can continue my life with less resentment. I feel that in aging, I no longer appear the way I would like to, and the way I want to be seen and loved and desired as a woman. And I want to look in the mirror and be happy about who I see. And I've been practicing for decades a conscious way of living. So this makes no sense that I feel all this, but it's truly what I feel. And I lost the greatest love of my life because of this. Like she's saying he answered my own self-rejection by leaving. So I do thank those feelings. I offer them to the divine, but it's not feeling any different yet. So let me, first of all, thank you for your honesty on that. I'm sure that there are people here that really resonate. And, I guess the first thing I do want to say is let's not leave out the fact that we live in a culture of absolute misogyny. And especially, men get it to some extent too, but women, we don't even have to waste time on the whammy that women get about perpetually not being allowed to really get past the age of 40. Like, I don't know. In fact, I have to say, I had a friend many years ago who, she was so attractive. You probably met people like this. She was so attractive. She kind of had a superpower. We were in our 30s at the time. And she kept saying, like, I love this power that I can go into a room and just kind of control anybody through how magnetic I am. And she said, I really don't want to live past 40. I can already feel it fading. And she died in a plane crash when she was 40. And I will never forget that, because the energy, the level of identity that she had with having that superpower, even though we used to joke, and I would say to her, is this superpower bringing you happiness? Because I know it gives you a feeling of, fleeting control, but does it actually bring you joy every day? And she'd be like, no, but I don't ever want to lose it. And I honestly feel that, she really made a decision from a soul level, like, I'm out of here. If I'm going to be losing that superpower, I don't want it. Now, when you put in the context of what would be going on if we lived in a sane, healthy culture where aging for anybody would be considered part of your great fortune, right? If you could actually be around long enough to take the acquired wisdom and take the natural changes that happen to the body, and that this would be considered like a badge of honor, well, that would be a different story, but that's not the culture that we're in. And I do think that you can really apply radical gratitude to this in a very powerful way by doing what you're doing, for sure. But I also want to share a personal story about this, because some people may know some of this if you read Outrageous Openness. When I was 30, I had a really serious, my endocrine system basically crashed and burned. And my body, my whole hormonal system just collapsed. And I wasn't able to walk, and I wasn't able to get out of bed. But the biggest thing that happened was that I had edema through my whole body. So I had water that made my entire being, my whole body was swollen, basically, which is why I couldn't walk. And I don't mean a little bit. I mean, I looked really deformed. And I was that way for about a year until the right acupuncturist healed me. Now, I looked so deformed that I went from being, you know, a reasonably attractive human to somebody that when kids saw me, they would hide behind their parents' legs. This is the truth. I had the experience of watching people recoil when they saw me, and even having certain people in my life at the time reject me because they were so scared to see the deformed energy that this disease was giving me. And I have to tell you, I'm tremendously grateful that this acupuncturist healed me, but it also took me through something that completely changed me, because I got that experience that I was something so far beyond what I look like and the absolute transitoriness of what you look like, that it can happen to anybody. And if you don't, it's so far beyond aging. It can be an injury, it can be an illness, it can be anything. And until the identity is established in something beyond that transitory appearance, it's truly a nightmare. And the other thing that that period took me through is that before, and I know there's other women that feel this, before I was in puberty, I had this experience of just being a force of nature. I wasn't a girl, I wasn't an object, I was this wild thing, and I was on my bike, and I was climbing up and down trees, and I was just this wild being. And then there was start to come this message of, oh, no, you're actually an object that's here for other people's, or, for other people to judge, appraise, dismiss, or like. It's the classic messaging that girls get. And what started to happen out of losing my appearance in my 30s was that I went back. I was able to start to feel again that experience of being a force of nature as opposed to just a person. Because if I only identified as being a person, everyone was scared to even look at me. So I've never shared these things before on any of the forum calls or anywhere, but your letter brought it all back up. And I really recommend that you sit with some of this, that you don't feel ashamed that you feel what you're describing, because how could you not in a culture that's nuts, but that you really thank it, work with it, and also just contemplate the you that is beyond all of this. Because, whoever this is right now, she ain't staying forever. I mean, this thing is going to slowly, I just think of it like an envelope. Like it's, this is going to slowly collapse if I'm lucky. Otherwise, it'll stay in this form and I'll be leaving in this form. But otherwise, you'll get that slow melting of the whole thing going away. But the light's the same. And the more you focus on the light, that's who you really are. So, God, you're making me want to do a whole class on aging. I think maybe that was the message here. I think that would be really cool. So anyway, thank you for that.